All right, Al. So we've talked about motion tracking, and motion tracking can track an object to move things along with it, or scale it, or rotate. We can even kind of do kind of a 3D kind of a thing where you can follow kind of a plane in space, right? It's just like, so we took a flat image and put it over a plane in space, like a painting, or you could do it with like a sign or something. Here I have this video. And we're doing kind of like this kind of rotate shot here, right? And let's just say for the sake of argument, I wanted to make text that kind of, what I'm trying to do is I want to make text that basically kind of is a plane but in 3D space and follows like the perspective of 3D space. Um, so the tra motion tracking I showed you wouldn't really work very well for that. It would work for 2D space, but not. Basically, what I'm trying to do is kind of follow, like, let's say we want to follow this plane and then put like a graphic there. We're trying to follow it as it basically kind of rotates, okay? And that's kind of tricky. It goes really even beyond that perspective pin that I was kind of showing you. So we're going to use another more modern method called track camera data, okay? What track camera data does is it's literally going to take your video and analyze it. And it's going to basically create little data points in your video that you can use as a reference. Okay. Now, for this to work, there's a couple things. First of all, your video has to be the same dimensions as your composition. So notice how my scaling is deliberately at 100. So you're going to have to do that if you need to change that. Like if for some reason, let's say I don't want it to be 1920 by 1080. What you would do is you would do the motion tracking in a composition first, and then you can always embed that composition in another composition that we've talked about before. But it has to be, your composition and the video have to be the same size. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go under the mansion video and I'm going to go where it says track camera. Okay. And what's going to happen is it's going to add this 3D tracker effect to your video. And what it's doing is it's analyzing your data. Okay. This could take a little while. I'm not going to lie. I may even stop the video here if it takes too long, but essentially here you can see how many frames it's doing. So we're at frame 100 of 245. So, the size of the length and dimensions of your video are definitely going to affect this. Oops, I think it's mad because it's got to match the dimensions exactly. All right, let's try that again. It didn't like that it was like slightly off. All right, so I'm going to follow this. Make sure under show track points that 3D solved is put there. Okay. All right, I wanted to show you, I rendered it again and it got the same problem. What you can do is if you're getting an error message like I was, go under advanced and under solve method, instead of auto detect, use typical. This is like the way that it looks for data points. And then that should bring up, you can see here when I zoom in, I get all these like data points here. If you turn on render track points, it makes it like a little easier to see. So it's kind of up to you. So you might notice I have these points, and basically the After Effects did this themselves. I didn't really do anything, but you'll notice that like as I see how they sort of they stay kind of like, for instance, follow that orange one. You can see it kind of moves along as the video goes. Some of them kind of disappear and reappear, but you want ones that kind of stay the whole time. Like some of these are very good about kind of existing the entire time. So how could we use this? Well, what I'm going to do is highlight a couple of these points. One, two, three, four. When you do that, you see I literally get like a bullseye. Okay. And what this does is create like a plane in 3D space that we can follow. Okay. And I'm going to just right click and I'm going to go to where it says create text and camera. And when I do that, what it does is it creates literal text, and that text moves around in 3D space. Okay. So really what happens is it makes a camera, it makes a text layer. We've talked about text before, and it, will make the layer 3D. Now, a lot of time, sometimes it makes the text kind of awkward there. So this is where you might want to come in, like maybe, I don't know why it kind of like maybe I might want to rotate the text a little bit there and I want to change the position. So I'm just going to move that text. And maybe I'm going to change this text. So maybe this is like, it's like one of those like HDTV type shows. And I'm just going to move that text over here. And maybe I'll also put a little background drop shadow just to make it a little easier to see. And when I play this back, it moves around in 3D space. All right. So, you can do this in different ways. I applied text there. Maybe I have like a little logo. Maybe I want that logo. So this is like, once again, it's like a real estate show. Maybe I want that logo to kind of sit here. So what I'm going to do is go back to my video and I'm going to go back to the effect. I'm clicking on that so that I can get these data points. And what I'm going to do is, oops. Trying to get these data points here. All right, so I have the video here. Make sure in compositing window, make sure this is set up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight a couple of data points here. So I'm going to select there, 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 and there. Okay. And so when I do that, it basically sets a plane. So this is kind of like where I want to place my item. What I'm going to do is, so it usually is good to have at least four, I recommend points. I usually, say choose 4 points to try to get a plane in space. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to where it says create solid in camera. And so I did that and that kind of goes in space. And the reason, so it's basically just a flat object. But then what we can kind of do really easily is if I highlight this, I can take this and do an option to replace. And I'm just going to scale this. And you can, rotate it in 3D space the way we would rotate anything. So here's the logo for the company. All right, and you can see it's moving around in 3D space there. All right, so we're using now you can see all the little data points there. That won't actually show up when that only shows up when you're working on the project. Obviously, if I go back to, um, if I were to, I could turn off render data points, and that means as soon as I click off of it, it should go away. There you go. Okay. So this is a nice way to kind of take any video, track points within that video, and then use those points to set up like a 3D plane that you can then attach like a logo or some text to. So you can see how like, you could have my own logo kind of sitting on top of this, or I could put, text attached to this that kind of goes along, or I could put text here, or, however you want to follow the camera movement. Okay? So try that out. That is exercise 11, please.